We're holding Mishlei, Perek Yud Aleph, chapter 11. Just before I begin, just a brief introduction. Rabbis tell us, Ma'asecha yikarbucha, Ma'asecha yirachakucha. One's deeds throughout life have the ability to fashion out his destiny, how one will get along with his friends, with his family, with society in general. One's deeds can distance one from others or can bring him close. People will be able to get along with one or not, depending on one's ma'asim. One's ma'asim therefore determine a great deal of how one will interact with people and whether he will succeed overall in his mission in life or whether he will fail. I'm not talking right now about one's mazal, how much money he will earn and so forth, but overall, mission accomplished or not, depending on one's deeds. And when we talk about one's deeds, we refer to a very important part of one's deeds, and that is how honest one is. His integrity, his honesty. We're talking about his approach or attitude to life in general. And we mean also his values, his hashkafot, his outlook. All of these three areas are emphasized in Perek Yud Aleph. Various characteristics that you will notice, differences in people, human behavior, people's attitudes, and what people value or what they think is important. And you will see the consequences as a result of the emphasis in the two extremes or in the various differences. The first pasuk, or the first pasukim, deal with the honesty. Moznei mirma to'avat Adonai ve'even shelemar retzono. A false scale. Hashem hates a false scale. But a just weight, ve'even shelemar retzono, is what Hashem desires. This may be familiar to you from the mitzvah in the Torah of lo yeh bechischa even ve'even. One should not have in his pocket, in his possession, two different kinds of stones. When we're talking about weights and measures, that's what Shlomo Melech is talking about over here. Weights and measures. What's the big hidush over here? What is he trying to add? What is he elaborating on? Something which is obvious, that you cannot cheat people with various stones that do not add up exactly to what you are selling, to what he's under the impression that he's buying, the customer. The point over here is, as the commentaries explain, is that even if one has something which is false, and because he's an honest person, he's going to figure, I'm going to deduct from the total what I'm overcharging him based on the wrong value, the false value. Even so, do not have in your possession something which is false, something which is fake, something which has something to do with lies. It's a moznei mirma. Even though you say, it's okay, I'll take care of it, I'll make the adjustment. Do not have anything in your possession that comes close to being fake, that can mislead, that appears to be false, because one has to stay away clearly from sheker. Midvar sheker terchak, the Torah does not use that kind of language with any other sin, with any other act. Midvar sheker, when it comes to lying, maintain clear distance. What this also means is that a person has to be mushlam in every situation. And this is the difficult part. Mushlam meaning to have integrity in every situation. Not like some people say, I'm an honest person, I never cheat, but it's okay to cheat non-Jews. Chaz v'shalom. You cannot do that, and you should never think that way. But there are some people who think this way. You cannot be halfways. A person who is honest at all times. He's honest with everyone. I'm going to share with you a story with the Chafetz Chaim to give you an example of what this means. A very important minister once entered the office of the Chafetz Chaim, and he was surprised to see on the desk of the Chafetz Chaim some stamps that were torn up. The stamps in those days had the image of the Tsar. So that non-Jewish minister was insulted. What is this rabbi doing? Tearing pictures of the Tsar? And he was upset. And he asked the Chafetz Chaim, can you explain what this is? Chafetz Chaim says, sure, I'll explain. I prepared some packages to send with the train. In those days, certain parts of the world, that's the way they send their postage. I prepared some packages and I bought some stamps, but somebody did me a favor. He was traveling anyway to that location where I was going to send the packages, and he took the packages with him. So I therefore did not have to use these stamps, but in order for the government not to lose out because somebody did me a favor, I tore the stamps. The minister was so in shock. He says, if all Jews are so honest, I'm completely amazed. I have total admiration for you. If this is true with every Jew. Obviously not everybody behaves this way. This is an exceptional act of a great tzaddik, and you don't even have to do that. You don't have to do that. That is a little bit much more than what is expected of one to do. Nevertheless, it shows the tzidkut, the righteousness, the honesty of the Chafetz Chaim. The Chafetz Chaim, when he prepared his Sefarim to be published, Mishnah Berurah and others, he was very careful to have them edited, to have them reviewed, lagia otam. He was concerned that if somebody were to pay for his book and not get his money's worth, he was concerned if somebody was going to pay for his books and not get his money's worth because there were some mistakes, some pages missing, he would be honest of him. So he worked very, very hard, and he hired people to review, to make sure that everything was complete. He once received a letter from someone about some mistake or some problem with the book he bought, and he was so upset. He asked his son, didn't I tell you to check everything out? Send the guy back his money immediately. You know, I don't want to be guilty of any gezel, chaz v'shalom, of cheating anybody. That is how careful the Chafetz Chaim was. As a child, he once took an apple without paying for it from this woman. You know, kids play and do things. When they grow up, they mature, they realize that what they did was wrong. But not everybody corrects what they did when they were young. The Chafetz Chaim, when he finally figured out that what he did when he was a young boy was wrong, he went looking for that woman, put a coin into her basket, and ran away without buying any more merchandise, giving her back what he took. A man who was extremely careful with his honesty in all situations, with Jews and non-Jews alike. Next pasuk. Ba zadon vayavo kalon ve'etzenuim chokhmah. When pride comes, that's the way he translates it over here, then comes shame, but with the humble is wisdom. The simple meaning over here is there are certain individuals who bring upon themselves shame as a result of their actions, but those who are modest, not proud, not bragging, they bring about chokhmah. That's a simple interpretation over here. Another idea over here is what the rabbis tell us about weights and measures. What does it mean, ba zadon vayavo kalon? Is that if one was not careful with weights and measures, then he will cause to bring about a government audit, perhaps we can call it, of his assets, or a tremendous calamity over that community if it's the entire community that is guilty of not being honest. And the rabbis point this out from the pasuk in the Torah that says that you should be careful with your weights and measures, and right after that pasuk it says, Zachor et ma she'asa lecha Amalek. Be careful, in other words, remember what Amalek did to you. What's the connection between the two? If one is not careful with weights and measure, one is not honest, this is what it causes. It causes the authorities, those forces in power, to come out and to rob us from that which we have. Measure for measure. The next pasuk is Tumat Yesharim Tanchem Veselef Bogdim Veshadim. The integrity of the upright shall guide them, but the perverseness of the faithless shall destroy them. In general, one who is honest in life, that honesty, that integrity will direct him in life. He will not make any mistakes. Whereas those who pervert, the selef, those who pervert things, they will be destroyed. In other words, they will fail. This is just a general statement. We will see a little bit more elaboration what that means later on. It's a general statement that those who act honestly, who do things properly, will not fail. On the contrary, they will always end up doing the right thing, and they will succeed. Whereas those who attempt to cheat, those who are crooked, in the end, they will fail. People think that they can get away with it by cheating, by lying, but in the end it gets back at them. And this is what Shlomo Melech is telling us, warning us in advance. Be careful with this attitude, with this way of thinking. It will not get you anywhere. Be honest, just go in the right way. That is the way to succeed in life. Pasuk Dalet, Lo yo'il hon b'yom evra tzedakah tatzil mimavet. A very famous pasuk, a very important pasuk. One will not benefit from all his riches in the day of wrath, b'yom evra. Tzedakah tatzil mimavet, but charity or righteousness will save one from death. The simple meaning is, when the day of death arrives, which can be called the Yom Evra, when one departs from this life, all the money that he's accumulated cannot hold back that day. It cannot save his life. That's one idea here. Another idea is, because he mentions here the word Evra, Evra means wrath, the anger of Hashem. There are times in the Gemara, in the Zohar, in the Kabbalah, it's called Idna Deritha, moments of anger. That Bashamayim, they're very, very angry, and even those who are righteous may suffer as a result during those moments. Here it just means Evra, moments of wrath. At times of wrath, when there is an imminent catastrophe about to happen, one can no longer use his wealth to stop that. When should he have used it? Before, by giving tzedakah. Once the gezerah arrives, once the decree comes, it's almost too late to undo it by giving tzedakah. So b'yom evra, all the money now that you want to give it for tzedakah will not help. There's a nice mashal of a smuggler. There used to be a smuggler in Eastern Europe who used to travel regularly from Poland to Russia during the time that it was not permissible to, I think, transport tobacco, whatever it was. But people were in the smuggling business and they did it for money. Anything for money. And as he's about to cross over, he sees guards. They're going to inspect his goods, maybe not. They did it randomly, or if they were suspicious, they didn't just stop everyone. So of course he prayed to Hashem that everything should go well. The problem is that even though he hid all his wares and merchandise, there was a poor man, another Jew, who was crippled, and he always stood close to the border watching all the businessmen cross over. And he knew, because he understood their language, he was Jewish, that they were smugglers. He would approach them and ask for tzedakah. Whoever gave them, he shook his hand and said thank you. Whoever did not give him, he would snitch on. And you know what it means to be snitched on? To the Russians, they would put him in prison, take away all his merchandise. By the way, they do that here too, between Mexico and the United States. If you try to smuggle, they'll take away everything and put you in jail. So anyway, one man noticed this beggar, one Jew, and he realized that this guy's a snitch. He just had the face, he had the look. So he understood very well what this guy wants, and he gave him a nice amount of money, which made him happy. Another individual came by, who was apparently more stingy, and refused to give him. He not only refused to give him, he told his helper to beat him up, tell him to get lost. What happened? Of course, he went over to the authorities and said, this guy is a smuggler. Sure enough, they opened up his wagon and they found all the merchandise and they put him away in jail. The poor man now comes to jail to visit this businessman, and the businessman tells him, I'm willing to help you now. Please get me out of here. What does the poor man say? It's too late. You're in jail now. I can't help you. You should have given me the first time when I asked you. Now it's too late. I can't help you get out of jail. So the rabbis explain with this mashal, the same is true when a person is asked to give tzedakah. It could be a gift from Shamayim. It could be a way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will prevent him from some disaster that's about to happen if he's smart enough to give in time. Once he becomes sick, it may be too late, but some people do not give tzedakah, refuse the poor man, then something terrible happens to them, and now they call all the poor men, come, we want to give you tzedakah now. It's already too late. Those poor men cannot help anymore. They say tehillim and they beg the poor people, take the tzedakah now. It's already too late. Lo yo'il hon b'yom evra. Once the Yom Evra, the day of wrath, has arrived, it's too late to take back and to cancel the decree. Rabbis tell us, therefore, one should always pray before the decree. Even if one has parnasah, he should continue to pray for parnasah. Who says he will have tomorrow? Maybe there may be some decree tomorrow. So always pray in advance that everything should be okay for health, for parnasah, for whatever it is that you're praying. Because once the gezerah arrives, lo yo'il hon b'yom evra, then the hon, the riches, the wealth, the money does not help. However, tzedakah tatzil mimavet. But charity does help one from death. There are several questions here. First of all, we already said that before. He already said tzedakah tatzil mimavet. Why is he repeating it again? That charity saves one from death. So I think it's brought down in the Sefer Hasidim that there's two types of tzedakah that we're talking about here. The first tzedakah is the one that one does on his own, and this tzedakah is the one that one does by asking others to give. That is a very, very high level of tzedakah. Gadol ha'ma'aseh yoter min ha'oseh. One who causes others to give is a much higher level than one who gives himself. It's a lot harder to convince others to give. So this is the tzedakah that one causes others to give. That's one idea. Rabbis also tell us that there is a distinction between the first tzedakah and the second tzedakah, and that the first one, matzil et ha'adam migehenom, you can save one from the din of Gehenom, and this one, matzil et ha'adam mimita meshuna, as we explained a couple of weeks ago, I think, that it could save him from an unnatural death. Tzedakah has that power. Everyone eventually passes away from this world, but from an unnatural death. Tzedakah has the power to protect him from that. Two different types of tzedakot. This tzedakah over here, commentaries explain, is a much higher level, and it's the type of tzedakah called matan baseter, giving charity anonymously. If you look in the Shulchan Aruch in Ilchot Tzedakah, you will find that there are many levels of tzedakah, of giving charity. Giving to someone you don't know. The poor man does not know who is getting it from. The one who's giving does not know, and the poor man does not know. Neither of them knows about each other. This is a higher level of tzedakah because you're sparing the poor man busha, shame. He doesn't know who he got it from. One who gives a loan is even on a higher level than tzedakah because the man thinks, I've got a loan, I'm going to pay it back. I didn't just get a gift. One who helps somebody find a job and helps him get settled, that's even a bigger mitzvah. There's various levels in tzedakah. When one gives tzedakah, one has to be careful to do it with a smile, because if you're going to look at him with a sour face, you're better off not giving the money. So there's various ways of doing tzedakah. Matan baseter is one of the highest forms of tzedakah, giving it anonymously. Now, there are some people in shul that love to do that. They don't want anybody to know. There's a problem with that. Even though it's a beautiful mitzvah to give matan baseter, there are times where you have to announce how much you're giving for an appeal. So others should learn from you. So there's a time for matan baseter, but there are other times where you have to publicize what you're doing or what you're planning to give, so others should learn from you. Especially if it's a large amount, to encourage them to give for a worthy cause. Even though we said lo yo'il hon b'yom evra, that it's almost too late, nevertheless, you can catch it just a moment before. In other words, the tzedakah on the Yom Evra could help. Not just any money, but tzedakah that was done all the time and is done on that day. The famous story of this example is the daughter of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva was told by astrologers that his daughter will die on the day she gets married. Now, Rabbi Akiva's attitude was, Am Yisrael is me'ala mazalot, Kadosh Baruch Hu will help, but he was concerned about it. Deep down he was concerned about it, but there's nothing he can do but pray. And he was even expecting that this may happen. On the day of her wedding, as she was getting ready, and as you know, a young woman on the day of her wedding is very, very busy. She was braiding her hair. And as she's busy with braiding her hair, a poor man knocks on the door. And he asks for some food. So what did she do? Because a poor man came, so she took the needle of her hair, she didn't have enough time, and she just stuck it in the wall. In the meantime, she went over to the door, asked him to come in, and gave the poor man her meal, her portion that she was going to eat at the wedding. She went back to do her hair, pulled the needle out from the wall, and as she pulled the needle out, with it came a snake. As she was going towards the door to greet the poor man, she had stuck the needle without realizing it into the head of the snake. And in this way she killed the snake. That snake was coming down to bite her, to kill her on that day. Rabbi Akiva, her father, comes into the room after a little while and sees that his daughter is still alive. He sees the snake and he asked her what happened. And she told him the story. He says, now I understand. Tzedakah tatzil mimavet. Even b'yom evra, even during the day of wrath or whatever, this is what was meant to happen. Tzedakah has the power to stop that. Next pasuk. Tzidkat tamim tiyasher darko u'v'rish'ato yipol rasha. The righteousness of the innocent shall direct his way, but the wicked shall fall by his own wickedness. A lot of people set up a trap for someone. In the end, they fall into their own trap. That's what it means over here. U'v'rish'ato yipol rasha. In his own wickedness, he will fall. Whereas tzidkat tamim tiyasher darko. So we're talking about the righteousness of those who are innocent, that always do things right. They're honest in business matters. As a result of their honesty, everybody will want to do business with them. The Rasha, the one who tries to cheat, he thinks that he can get away with it, he can make a lot of money, he can charge what he wants, but in the end, people realize this, they won't buy from him. They will buy from the one who has a good name, who has a good reputation. These lessons were important lessons years ago, and they still are. Life has not changed in this respect. People are the same. I mean, we travel in cars and planes today. Perhaps technology has changed, but human behavior has not changed. Those who are honest, people will want to do business with them. People will recognize them. They don't even have to put an ad in the yellow pages. It travels. Everybody has told me that word of mouth is the greatest advertisement. And what's word of mouth? People who are happy, people who are impressed. Whereas the Rasha, in the end, he thinks that all his little tricks will make him rich. It's not true. In the end, u'v'rish'ato yipol rasha. The next pasuk is similar. Tzidkat yesharim tatzilem u'v'ahavat bogedim yilachedu. The righteousness of the upright shall save them. The righteousness of the upright shall save them, but transgressors shall be caught by their own lust. What does this mean? The tzidkat yesharim tatzilem. They will be saved. They will be given the job. There's a nice mashal or a story, I don't know if it's true, of two individuals who went for an interview to get a job. So what do you do? How do you know who to give the job? So this man, who was the one who was doing the interview, was smart. He asks the first guy, tell me, what do you do if you place a big order for the company? An order of pens or pencils. And they send you more than what you paid for, than what you've ordered. They sent you a couple more than what you've ordered, 2, 3 more. What would you do? So he says, well, 2, 3 for a big company is no big deal. I just ignore it. Okay. The next guy comes in. They ask him the same question. What would you do if you got a few more extra pencils from this company? And he says, it's a mistake. I send it back. He got the job. Now, just a small example of what he's trying to say over here. Tzidkat yesharim tatzilem. People will notice it. People will pay attention to it. And that's what will land them the job. That's what will protect them. Uvehavot bogedim yilachedu. Bogedim are those who are treacherous, those who betray the trust. They will be trapped. In other words, they will not get the job. The next pasuk, b'mot adam rasha tovat tikva v'tochelet onim avada. The wicked man, when a wicked man dies, all those who had any expectations of him, those expectations are gone, they disappear. V'tochelet onim avada. And the hopes that the children had is also gone. Several ideas are expressed over here. Number one, the simple meaning is, obviously when a person dies, when a wicked person dies, anybody who had any hopes in him, it's gone. When a person dies, there's no more hope. People can be depending on President Bush, but if something happens to him, you don't know. Everything that he's promised will not necessarily be fulfilled. Because we're relying on a human being. So somebody promises to you something, you don't know. It all depends if he lives to deliver it. When the Rasha therefore passes from this world, any hope that people had in him is lost. What about the children? The children's hope in him are also lost. What that means is that children of a Rasha are completely lost because their father does not have any zechuyot. Whereas the children of a tzaddik, even though the father may have passed away from this world, the fact that the father was a tzaddik, many times the zechuyot of the father carries on to future generations. That's one idea. Another idea is bemot adam rasha tovat tikva. As long as a person is alive, even if he's a rasha, he's able to do teshuvah. Once he's died, it's too late. He's gone. Not everybody has the opportunity to think about it. Not everybody expects to die young. No one knows when he will leave this world exactly. And that is what the rabbis tell us, do teshuvah continuously, regularly. But a rasha is so caught up with his business, he doesn't think about teshuvah. And before he realizes, it's too late. The next pasuk is related, whereas tzaddik mitzara nehlat, the tzaddik will be saved. He's saved from trouble because he always examines his deeds to see if there's anything wrong and always does teshuvah. Vayavor rasha tachtav, and the wicked gets into it instead. This is a very interesting pasuk, that sometimes a tzaddik was supposed to go through a terrible problem, and instead HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent that problem to a rasha. The rasha got the problem or got the trouble that was supposed to go to the tzaddik. Vayavor rasha tachtav. The reason why that happens is because the midat hadin, the attribute of justice, that was demanding something be done, is not happy, is not satisfied until whatever was meant to happen happens to someone. So this was meant to happen to the tzaddik. Somehow the tzaddik got out of it. The decree was cancelled against him, but the decree is still out there, and the rasha gets it instead. Next pasuk. Befe chanef yashchit re'eu v'da'at tzadikim yachaletzu. Befe chanef means with a mouth that flatters. Here he calls it a hypocrite, with his mouth. It means with a mouth that flatters, yashchit re'eu, he destroys his friend or his neighbor. Uvedat tzadikim yachaletzu, but through the knowledge shall the just be saved. One who flatters others, with his flattery, he destroys them, because people think that they're great. They're being flattered that everything is okay and acceptable about them, where in fact they have many faults. So one who flatters, through his actions, is causing harm. Ubedat tzadikim yachaletzu, but tzadikim, through their knowledge, they are saved. What knowledge? The knowledge that the rabbis tell us that a tzaddik should always tell himself, even if everybody calls me a tzaddik, I still think of myself as a rasha. That's what the chachamim tell us. Even if the entire world says you're great, you're good, you're smart, you're whatever, never accept that. Always think, no, I'm not. I'm incomplete. I still have to work on myself. I still have faults. Never accept people's flattery, because that may mislead you to thinking that everything is okay. Nice things to you, but your wife really knows who you really are. So b'dat tzadikim yachaletzu, the tzadikim are always more careful, they're more cautious, and they don't accept the flattery. Next pasuk, betuv tzadikim ta'alotz kiryav v'avod reshaim rina. Pasuk Yud. When it goes well with the righteous, the city rejoices, and when the wicked perish, there is jubilation. I don't completely agree with this translation. Betuv tzadikim ta'alotz kiryav means because of the good of the tzadikim, the city rejoices. What that means is that the tzaddikim have the power to protect the city, to defend the city. As a result of the ma'asim, of the tuv of the tzaddikim in a particular place, a city has what to rejoice, what to be happy, because they have tzaddikim amongst them who defend and protect the city. Uva'avod reshaim rina, but when the wicked perish, there is jubilation. That may surprise you, because you may have been used to thinking, or pasuk that says, "Follow yivchal tismach." Don't rejoice when your enemy falls, even though that's talking more about a Jewish enemy, one who you dislike, another Jew. Nevertheless, it is true that one should not rejoice when any of Hashem's creations perish. That too.
Isn't it Palestinian?
Yeah, we don't rejoice when they perish. What do we rejoice about? We're supposed to rejoice, but what? That we were saved. Not that they are gone,
Yeah.
that we are saved. In other words, that's the way the attitude needs to be. It's a shame that many innocent people who do not know right from wrong, perish. We're not happy, even though they were no good. We're happy that we were spared from them. The reason why one should rejoice when those who are wicked perish, here we're talking about the real wicked people, Amalekites, or people who are similar to them, because if they would be around, they would bring disaster in that town, in that community. So again, we rejoice that they are gone, so there's no problems. This is also true amongst the nations of the world. Wherever there were acts of goodness, charitable acts, a nation survived, an empire lasted, the people prospered. Many of the nations that disappeared, whether it was Spain, the old Spain, the empires of back then, didn't you ever think about it? How did it just happen that such a mighty empire should disappear? It was because of their actions. They were no good. They were corrupt. They did something wrong.
Of course, the Jews.
To the Jews or Bichlal. They did not invest in the education of their children. Their values were no good. And that is why they did not last. So when there are tzaddikim in a community, when there are good people, there's reason to rejoice. The next pasuk Yud Aleph, B'birkat Yesharim Tarum Karet U'Befir Reshaim Tehares. By the blessing of the upright, the city is exalted, but it is overthrown by the mouth of the wicked. A similar idea, that the Reshaim caused the destruction of the city. As a result of the tzaddikim, the city is blessed. As you know, wherever the Jews went, the country was blessed. And this we know from Abraham Avinu, that Hashem promised him, wherever your children will be, I will bless that nation. The Spanish didn't realize it, neither did the Portuguese, when they expelled the Jews, what they were doing to their country. The Turkish understood very well. Come along, I want you. I know what this means for my country. Interesting. Same thing with Morocco. They received the Jews. Italy received the Jews back then. They were smart. And I have no doubt that even this country was somewhat blessed as a result of the Jews, the influx of the Jews, and the democracy, the rights that they were given to practice their Judaism. This is called a Medinat Chesed. The rabbis called it a country of kindness, a nation of kindness. And this could be why they have been able to prosper, become a tremendous power in the world. But of course, this will not last forever. There's a lot of things that are not so good here. And in the end, Akadosh Baruch Hu restores the glory of Am Yisrael. It will be Am Yisrael who will be the empire. In Eretz Yisrael, right.
See, there's a book out right now, just a couple years ago, in Iran.
Yeah.
You're not going to believe it. Close to 90% of the Iranian industry was run by the Jewish people, and close to 90% of drugstore in Iran, in Tehran. All of them, this in that book.
Sure, in many countries it's like that. Yeah. The next pasuk, Baz l're'eu hasar lev v'ish tevunot yachrish. One who makes fun of his friend lacks understanding, but a man of understanding holds his peace. Again, I don't like this translation. What it basically means is the one who makes fun of others, Hasar lev, he has no understanding. And I'll explain that. V'ish tevunot yachrish, one who does have understanding keeps quiet. There's two ideas expressed over here. Idea number one is what is said in Pirkei Avot. Al ti'ibaz lechol adam, ki en lecha adam she'en lo sha'ah. Be careful not to despise anyone, because you never know. Every human being in this world may have a moment of greatness, a moment where you may benefit something from him. And if you despise him, he will get back at you. He will not help you. As a famous story with that Roman who was a shepherd of pigs, and the Jewish kids made fun of him. And eventually, somehow, he got to power. He became the governor of that region in Israel, and he got back at the Jews. He decreed terrible decrees against them, and it was only through the intervention of that one of the rabbis who treated him nicely that he was willing to forgo and willing to forgive. But he reminded the Jews, be careful, just because I was a nothing Alti baz lechol adam, you never know. And that's what over here he says, baz lereo chasar lev. One who makes fun of other people has no understanding. He doesn't realize what he's doing. This man eventually could be the king. Ve'ish tevunot yachrish. One who does have understanding keeps quiet. Here he's talking about one who has to hear his somebody embarrassing him, somebody insulting him. If he's a man of understanding, he keeps quiet, he doesn't answer back. Why does he say a man of understanding? Because a man of understanding understands that if the guy is yelling at me, cursing me, insulting me, it must be that min hashamayim they're allowing him to do that, and it must be that my ears had to hear all those insults. So what, am I going to yell back at him? I'm going to stoop down to his level? Ish tevunot, a man of understanding, he's better off keeping quiet. But I think I've shared with you once before that there is even one who's greater than this man, the man who keeps quiet. One who doesn't even care, he doesn't even bother him. See, a lot of people are bothered by the insult, but they just control themselves. They don't answer back, but they really hurt. One is on a much higher level when he bichlal does not relate to it. It doesn't even move him. You know, let him say what he wants. So what? But it takes a tremendous amount of self-control, discipline, and courage to be able to withstand an insult, depending on who is insulting, of course. But it shows ve'ish tevunot. It shows that this man has understanding, whereas the other one who makes fun of others lacks understanding. He doesn't have a mind. Next pasuk. Holech rachil megale sod v'neiman ruach mechaseh davar. One who tattletales. I think is that the best word in English for one who's a... No, gossip is more lashon hara. Gossip is lashon hara, or maybe also, yeah. Holech rachil. Here he calls it a tattle bearer, a tale bearer. Tale bearer. Holech rachil megale sod. One who is an holech rachil reveals secrets. What do you mean he reveals secrets? This man is not reliable. If you have a secret, don't share it with him. Because he's holech rachil, if that's the man, if that's what he does ordinarily, you don't want to tell him a secret, because he's going to tell it to others, because he is an holech rachil. As it is, he's going around finding out information, sharing it with others. So therefore he's a megale sod. You don't want to share with him your secrets. V'ne'eman ruach mechaseh davar. But one who is faithful conceals matter. A true faithful person is able to hold a secret. And not everybody knows how to hold a secret. And that's a big problem, because you want to share a secret with someone you don't know. Should you trust him or not? Here there's a little bit of an indication of whether you should trust someone or not. If a person easily talks about others, says lashon hara, gossips, you can't trust him. The Gaon of Vilna also says that one who's megale sod has the same avon of holech rachil. He has the same sin as one who goes around gossiping, one who reveals the secret. It was meant for one to hold on to a secret, to keep the secret. Don't reveal it. You have no right, permission to reveal that which you've been asked not to reveal. That's like holech rachil. So a ne'eman ruach you can trust, you can rely on. Another interpretation of ne'eman ruach mechaseh davar, one who is reliable, in other words, that he does not reveal secrets. Mechaseh davar, what that means is that even if something has been disclosed already, everybody knows about it, he has his mentality, or his form of being is to be a ne'eman ruach. He will not talk about it with others. He will cover it, even though it's been disclosed. There are others who say, okay, everybody knows about it anyway, so let's talk about it. No, that's still lashon hara in a sense. Ne'eman ruach will cover up even that which is known. He will not point it out. He will not talk about it. Something that is negative we're talking about.
But what about if it is fact, if it's true? If it is really the fact, and it's not lashon hara?
Well, even if it's true, lashon hara is something which is true. Something which is not true is called motzi shemra, giving somebody a false reputation. Something which is true, you have to be very careful if this will harm one's reputation. You have no right to spread it. And that's what he says over here. V'ne'eman ruach, even if something is already a fact and it's disclosed, he covers it up. He does not want to talk about it anymore. He does not want to point out this fault.
All right.
Yes.
How about it in front of a court when that man is asked to tell the truth, what would he say? If he goes in front of a court and they ask him a question?
In front of the court is something else. You're being asked to testify. If you're a witness, it's something else.
Go down a little bit to a lower level, in front of people who ask him a question, not a court.
It all depends. If it's a shidduch,
Oh, yeah, that's
okay, let's it's a shidduch. And somebody asks you, is this young man, is this young woman healthy or sick? You have to tell the truth if it will hurt them. If you don't tell them, you're hurting them.
I heard the halacha is that first 2, 3 times you don't have to reveal that. Only after you go out once or twice and you feel there's potential, then otherwise you're ruining yourself right away. If you tell the other person that you're ill, the other person may not even want to go out with you, but first see if there's a potential. I heard a pastak like that, Rabbi Belki.
Yes, it's acceptable. It's acceptable in the very beginning that one does not have to reveal everything, because one may overlook certain things. Nevertheless, if somebody asked, you have to answer. That's the difference. If somebody insists on knowing up front, you can't say, I'm sorry, I won't discuss that now to the third date. That's the difference. But you're right. If it wasn't brought up, nobody asked, you don't have to say everything right away. Neman ruach b'chased davar, he covers it up. What does it mean to cover up? It means to give the benefit of the doubt. Let's say something is true. It's a fact, like you said. But you have the ability to give somebody the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he didn't know, maybe he didn't mean it this way, maybe he meant something else. You can always interpret something positively. Neman ruach, one who has this spirit, he's not out to get back at someone, he doesn't hate someone. He's neman ruach. He's a fine person. Then he covers up. He tries to see in what way to cover it up and not to allow this ugly matter to be propagated everywhere, to be made public. Because you don't gain anything when something is made public. You just make things worse. It's better to quiet down that which is already a fact, that which people already know, and keep it quiet.
But how do you know the difference between wicked and righteous? If we really cover everything up,
right?
And then a wicked, that it does something wicked, then we
Yeah, sometimes you don't know. You have to ask a rabbi, because on our own we are biased. Yeah. We may think we know something, but you have to ask. You know, what's the right thing to do? Adam karov le'atzmo, the rabbis tell us. Every individual is close to himself. He's biased. He cannot see clearly if something is right or wrong. All right. The commentaries also say that in this pasuk of Ne'eman ruach b'chased davar is also included all the secrets of the Torah. You should not just reveal to anybody who's not qualified. You should not teach Kabbalah to just anybody, the secrets of the Torah. There are certain things that have to be covered and not revealed, not shared with just anybody. Next pasuk, ve'en tachbulot yipol am u'tshu'a berov yoetz. When it comes to war and battles, one needs a strategy. And if there's no plan and there's no strategy, they can lose the war, they can lose the battle. That is the meaning of ve'en tachbulot yipol am. They can fall. Here he calls it when there's no counsel. Tachbulot is really a strategy. U'tshu'a berov yoetz. But when you have a lot of counsel, you will have teshuah. You will have salvation. You will have peace. You will have safety. The idea over here is that just like in military affairs, it is good to have a strategy. The same is true with any other part of our life that is important, like marriage, business, partnerships, and the like. It is a good idea to seek the advice, not of one person, but of many. A person is about to go through a very important, dangerous surgery. I think it is customary to seek 3 opinions, 3 doctors, right? It's risky. The same is true with other important areas in our life. In Yiddish there's a saying, I'm going to tell you in English, to ask you should ask everybody, but you make up your own mind. In other words, you lose nothing by asking. You get just smarter. You'll hear more ideas, and perhaps you'll be able to make a decision from all the ideas. Now you just don't want to ask anybody. I mean, obviously, otherwise you'll get bombarded with everybody's opinions and ideas. But I'm talking about those who are qualified, those who know. It is good to ask. That's not so when you're asking an halakha. You have one rabbi, you ask him the halakha. After the rabbi told you his opinion, don't go and ask another rabbi. Perhaps he'll give you a different halakha. No, that you cannot do. You ask one and that's it. As long as, of course, you trust him. There's no reason to, just because you don't like his opinion, to go ask others. Unless the rabbi himself says, you know what, I'm not sure. Maybe you go ask somebody else. That's different. Next pasuk, Ra yeroa ki arav zar v'soneh tokeim boteach. This is a very important pasuk, and we've seen this before a little bit. I'm going to use my translation, even though it's not exactly accurate, but approximately this is the meaning of this pasuk. Ra yeroa ki arav zar. One will be very, very hurt if he has become a guarantor, an arev, for somebody else. Do you know what a guarantor is? Reuven wants to lend money to Shimon, but he wants a guarantor.
Co-signer.
A co-signer? Okay.
We talked about that before.
Yeah, but here there's a little bit of a difference. We've talked about it before. This is an important area. And Levi says, okay, I promise to pay if Shimon doesn't pay Reuven. What did we say in the past? Be careful, stay away from this. The guy will run away, never pay, and you'll end up paying. We spoke about this whole issue of co-signing. What is he adding over here? Ra yeroa ki arav zar. He's telling us, first of all, the statistics, the trend. The tendency is that people get hurt as a result of becoming a co-signer. What's the difference between this co-signer and the other one? That he calls it Ra yeroa. Ra yeroa means that he will suffer greatly from this. What do you mean suffer greatly? In the halacha, in Choshen Mishpat, if you look up the halachot of arev, malveh, loveh, you will find a term called arev kablan. Arev kablan is not just a co-signer. Reuven asks Shimon, Reuven says, you know Shimon, you want some money? Get me somebody to co-sign. That's an arev. What's an arev kablan? Levi comes along to Reuven, do me a favor, give him some money. If he doesn't pay, I'll pay you. He initiates the whole thing. That's much worse, because there's various halachot about arev kablan. And arev kablan gets himself into a lot more trouble as a result of him initiating. Had he just kept quiet and Reuven would come to him, listen, I need a cosign, you want to be? It's still no good. And you don't want to get involved unless you're willing to pay. You say you made up your mind, I have the money, I don't care if the guy doesn't pay. That's something else, fine. But if you haven't made up your mind, you just want to do him a favor, be careful. You don't have to do such favors. Here we're talking about Ra yeroa ki arav zar. We're talking about an arev kablan who initiates. He's worse off because there's many halachot that are against him. If I remember correctly, the malveh can go directly to him before he even attempts to go to the loveh. Usually the malveh has to go to the loveh, to the one who borrowed first. He has to find him even if he's overseas. He has to go after him first. Unless the case is completely lost, then he goes back to the co-signer. Here, the malveh can go directly to the co-signer. So you came, you're the one that asked for it, I'm going after you first. So the arev kablan is in a much worse position than an ordinary arev. V'soneh tokeim boteach, and one who hates these kind of partnerships, this kind of arrangements, he's much more secure. In other words, he will be spared from all this trouble. Next pasuk, Eshet hen titmoch kavod v'aritzim yitmechu osher. A gracious woman obtains honor and strong men obtain riches. Also a very important pasuk. A gracious woman obtains honor. The real translation of titmoch is really to support. Commentaries explain what does it mean, a gracious woman? A woman who's modest, a woman who's careful with how she does things. She's gracious. She does things properly. Her entire pursuit is to bring honor to herself, her family, and to Hashem. Titmoch kavod. That is her main goal and aspiration. To do things in the way that will bring kavod. That's all she's concerned about. Ve'aritzim, the strong men, ditmechu osher, all they go after is riches. In other words, their aspiration is to do whatever they can to get their hands on riches. Why? Because they think that this is what will bring them admiration. Two very different types of people. Another idea over here is that a woman who's gracious will not complain. Even if she does not have food on her table, she will give the impression to her neighbors that everything is fine. Because she's concerned about the dignity of the family, she doesn't want to come onto people's favors. She will not complain. She will maintain and support the kavod. Famous story in the Gemara. I think it was the wife of Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa, who was very poor. They never had any food. Never. But every Friday, she lit the fire of the oven. So people from the outside can see smoke in that house, that there is some food. That was her kavod. There was one neighbor who knew that she had nothing. And she didn't like this. What is she trying to do? She has food. I know she has no food. So the neighbor decided to sneak in and to basically embarrass this woman by pointing out, what are you doing?
Maybe just simply help out and give some food.
That would have been the right thing, of course. I also thought about that. That same neighbor could have helped out when she realized. But I have to give her the benefit of the doubt. She was poor herself, probably. Anyway, so she sneaks in, opens the door of the oven, and guess what? There was a miracle. There were halot. And she runs and she calls her neighbor from the other room, come quickly, your halot are burning. Come quick before they burn. Hashem made a miracle. But the idea here was to preserve the kavod of the family and not to come unto other people's favors. That's one idea here. Whereas the strong men or the braggarts brag about that which they don't have. There are a lot of people out there who make weddings even though they don't have the money to make such a big wedding, fancy wedding. They want to brag about it. They want to show what they don't have. Complete different attitude, complete different outlook. And it's wrong. It's not right. Especially if they borrow the money, they don't pay back the people who lent them the money. There are those people too. I'm sure you've met up with some of these. These attitudes, these kind of people, whether it's a rachil, gossiper, whether it's a dishonest man, whether it's a man who brags, they've always existed and they will always exist. And of course, Shlomo Melech is warning us, this is not right. This will cause failure, this will not bring you admiration, you will not gain anything from it. Just stay straight, be honest, follow the righteous path. And the last idea that is expressed over here about this gracious woman is, who is a gracious woman? We're talking about a single woman who wants to get married. A single woman who wants to get married, what should she look for in a young man? A gracious woman, a woman who's tsanua, all she asks for is for a talmid chacham. One that will bring kavod to the family, kavod of the Torah. Not for riches. But those who are strong-handed, those who are more into bragging and showing off, they will look for the wrong things. They will look for riches, for money. This is also another idea. It's okay to look for someone who has a parnasa. Obviously, you don't want to have to work too hard. You want your husband to support you. It's okay to look at certain things that are important to your family, like similar backgrounds. All of these things are important. But one of the points that is being emphasized over here is that Eshet Hen Titmoch Kavod, that her main emphasis, the most important thing, if she only had one thing to choose from, is that he brings kavod. Kavod to the family, kavod to her, the kavod of the Torah. It's very hard to choose, you don't get to choose everything you want. So you have to know what is a priority, what is the most important. Obviously one of the most important things we'll eventually see in a woman, in other words, for the man choosing, is Isha Yirat Hashem Mitit Halal. That is how Mishlei will end. In other words, with that pasuk, what one should look in a woman. But what one should look in a man is midot tovot, good midot, that he is a Talmid Chacham, that he values the Torah. Hopefully, this is what he will give over to his children. No one is perfect, no one has all the good qualities, but a gracious woman, this is what she looks, this is what means more than anything else to her. There of course has to be good chemistry between two people. People have to get along, they have to like each other. But more than anything else, even after you've chosen what you want or what you think you want, in the end, what is required for a successful relationship is investment. Is the two need to invest. In our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we invest 3 times a day, we come and pray, we have a relationship with Him. We do what He asked of us to do. But how we do it, do we complain about it? Do we do it slowly? Are we bitter about it? The same is true in a relationship between a husband and wife. Of course the husband will do his wife a favor, take out the garbage for her. But how does he do it? Does he do it gladly? Right. Or does he do it with a bitter face? He says, why do you always ask me to do it? Why don't you do it once? You see the difference? He's going to do it, but he had to make this remark. This is all attitudes. And this is how I began to explain the Perek. Shlomo Melech, throughout Mishlei, will go through all these types of attitudes that people have, various midot, characteristics, tchunot, ideas, values. And this is how one could know if what he has in him needs refinement or not. If he can identify one of those midot in himself, and believe it or not, every one of us has something that he needs to work on, to refine. Every husband and wife has something that they need to work on, to refine, to improve their relationship. If one has the ratzon, if one has the will and the desire, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu will help him. So B'ezrat Hashem, we'll continue next week. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, good news, Rob.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to say Arvit right now.